I've spent my life in the shadows of the world's greatest galleries, stealing things that aren't meant to be touched. I thought I was the ghost, the one nobody could catch. But as the vault door hissed shut behind me, I realized I wasn't the thief tonight. I was the score. He didn't call the police. He didn't pull a gun. He just poured 2 glasses of scotch and told me my real name, a name I haven't used in 10 years. My name is Julian, and I just realized that the man hired to protect the art has been hunting me for 3 continents. And now that he has me trapped 80 stories above the city, he has no intention of letting me go. The museum didn't smell like history. It smelled like money. Polished marble, filtered air, and the faint ozone tang of a high-voltage laser grid. I moved through the shadows of the Impressionist wing like a ghost in a bespoke suit. I don't steal for the money. I steal for the masterpiece. Tonight, the masterpiece was The Veiled Heart, a diamond-encrusted sculpture sitting in the center of a room that was supposed to be impenetrable. I had 60 seconds before the guard rotation reset. The sharp, rhythmic clicking of dress shoes on marble, the low hum of a security system. I was inches from the glass, my breath held tight in my chest. When the lights didn't flicker, they died. Total darkness. In the silence, I heard the heavy thud of a deadbolt sliding into place. Not the police, not the sirens, just a single, steady heartbeat behind me. I turned, my hand reaching for the silver blade in my sleeve, only to find myself staring into the cold, gray eyes of the one man I couldn't outrun, Gabriel, the head of security. He wasn't reaching for a radio. He was holding 2 glasses of scotch. "You're late, Julian," Gabriel said, his voice a low rumble that seemed to vibrate through the floorboards. He stepped into a sliver of moonlight, his tuxedo fitting him like armor. "I expected you at the north extraction point 5 minutes ago." I froze, the weight of the stolen sapphire in my pocket feeling like a lead weight. "You were waiting for me?" Gabriel took a slow sip of his drink, never breaking eye contact. "I've been watching you for 3 cities, 2 continents, and 12 heists. You're good, but you're sloppy when it comes to the things you love." He stepped closer, the scent of expensive sandalwood and aged peat filling the space between us. "I don't want the diamond back. I want the man who sent you to steal it, and you're going to help me find him." The air in the gallery grew thick. I was trapped in a billion-dollar cage with a man who knew my every move before I made it. But as he reached out to adjust my silk tie, his fingers lingering against my throat, I realized the heist wasn't over. It was just beginning. Trust is a luxury people like me can't afford. In my world, a partner is just a witness you haven't silenced yet. But as I stood in the back of Gabriel's armored SUV, watching the city lights blur into streaks of neon gold, I realized he wasn't just a security chief. He was a predator who had spent his whole life learning how to hunt people like me. "The target is the Volkov penthouse," Gabriel said, his voice a low vibration against the leather seats. He handed me a tablet showing a 3D scan of a glass tower that pierced the clouds. "Top floor. K-series encryption, pressure-sensitive floors, and a guard dog named Merrick who doesn't take bribes." We weren't just breaking into a building. We were breaking into a fortress. I was the blade, and Gabriel was the shield. But as we stood in the service elevator, the space between us felt smaller than the museum gallery. He reached over, his hand brushing mine as he checked the silent alarm on my wrist. It wasn't a professional touch. It was possessive, a reminder that while I was his partner for the night, I was still his prisoner. "If we trip the silent alarm, we have exactly 90 seconds before the private security team arrives," I whispered, checking the silver lockpicks hidden in my cufflink. Gabriel leaned in, his shadow eclipsing me against the elevator wall. The scent of his cologne, Dark vetiver and cold rain was more distracting than the mission. "Then don't trip it, Julian. I'd hate to have to carry you out. You look better in a suit than in handcuffs." The elevator doors hissed open to a world of chrome and glass. We moved together, a choreographed dance of shadows. I bypassed the biometric scanner while Gabriel watched the hallway, his silenced pistol held with a casual, terrifying grace. We reached the vault door, a massive slab of reinforced titanium. My fingers were shaking, not from the heist, but from the heat radiating off the man standing inches behind me. I felt his breath on the nape of my neck as I worked the tumblers. "Steady," he murmured, his hand resting firmly on the small of my back. The lock clicked. The door slid open. But inside wasn't just the painting Gabriel claimed was his family's legacy. It was a file with my name on it, photos of every heist I'd ever pulled, every alias I'd ever used. I turned to him, the cold realization hitting me harder than a physical blow. This wasn't about the art, was it? Gabriel stepped into the vault, the blue security lights turning his eyes into chips of ice. He closed the heavy door behind us, locking us inside. "The art was the bait, Julian. You were always the prize." The silent alarm didn't make a sound, but the air in the vault changed. A subtle shift in the ventilation, a distant hum of gears. The building was waking up to kill us. I looked at the file in my hand, my own face staring back at me from a dozen surveillance photos. Gabriel hadn't caught me by accident. He had hunted me. "You've been tracking me for a year," I whispered, the paper crinkling in my grip. This wasn't a job. It was an obsession. He didn't flinch. He didn't even apologize. Gabriel stepped into my space, his chest brushing mine, his gray eyes reflecting the cold blue light of the vault. He wasn't a guard anymore. He was the owner of the cage. He took the file from my hand and tossed it into the shredder without looking away from me. "I didn't bring you here to turn you in, Julian," he said, his hand sliding up to the back of my neck, his thumb tracing the line of my jaw. "I brought you here because the world is too small for a thief like you to stay free. If you're going to be a ghost, be my ghost." "The guards are on the floor," I snapped, my heart hammering against my ribs. "We have 60 seconds. "Then we leave the way you came," Gabriel replied, a dark smirk pulling at his mouth. He grabbed a heavy leather bag from the shelf, not the painting, but the server drive containing every bit of evidence against me. "But from tonight, Julian, you don't run from me. You run with me." We didn't take the elevator. We took the glass cutter to the floor-to-ceiling windows. The wind at 80 stories up screamed like a dying animal, tearing at my hair and silk tie. Gabriel hooked a high tensile wire to the frame and looked at me. No backup, no net, just the rain-slicked city below and the man who had stolen my freedom to give me a future. "Jump," he commanded, reaching out his hand. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed his hand, our fingers locking in a grip that felt more permanent than any handcuff. We stepped off the ledge into the black void of the Manhattan night. The fall was a blur of neon and gravity until the line caught and we swung, suspended between heaven and the pavement. When we finally hit the rooftop of the building across the street, drenched and gasping for air, Gabriel didn't let go. He pulled me against him, his mouth finding mine in a kiss that tasted of ozone and adrenaline. The sirens were screaming below, but up here, in the shadows of the skyline, the thief had finally found something he didn't want to give back. The sirens are just a dull hum 80 stories below us, a world away from this room. Julian thought he was a ghost, but Gabriel showed him that even a ghost needs a place to haunt. As they stood there, looking out over the city they just conquered, the stolen diamonds didn't matter. The files didn't matter. What mattered was the hand on Julian's shoulder, a grip that promised protection but demanded everything in return. The heist is over, but for the first time in his life, the thief isn't looking for an exit. He's finally home. This story, like all the ones we tell here, is about the moments that change us forever. And right now, Gay Stories Chronicles is at its own life-changing moment. We are just 150 subscribers away from hitting 1,000. That's 1,000 people who believe in these stories, in this community, and in the power of authentic love. If Julian and Gabriel's journey gripped you today, please hit that subscribe